10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome everybody. Today's installment number 2 of the 1974 Winnebago Brave. Today I'm going to talk about the ignition system and spark plugs and a problem I had. So we're going to have a little story. So come on in, why don't you? You're always welcome. Okay, so the story I have to tell you today is we are at a steam engine and gas show, and when we were about to leave, we were pulling out, and Miss Winnie, she stalled out, and I couldn't get her back to going again. It would just crank and crank and crank, and that's not like her. She always starts. So we sat there, I don't know, 20-30 minutes trying to get it started, and finally she popped off, and we got to our garden tractors, and I just left it running because I wasn't sure what was going on, so we just left it running, loaded it up, and then we brought her back home. Well, when I got home, I parked it in the street like I always do, and because I always come out the next morning and put her in her spot where she is. So the next morning came out, and she would not start, would not start. So it was out in the street for a couple days, and I got a nice parking ticket. Of course, you know, I think there's a neighbor that just doesn't like the Winnebago on the street, because we never have parking enforcement coming up here in our neighborhood. So my guess is there's one of those neighbors, if you know what I'm talking about, that just called, and I got the ticket. So and I didn't even know I had a ticket. But so I was trying to get it started for a couple days, and finally I got it started. I got her in her driveway, in her spot, and I had an appointment with the body shop to get the body fixed from that lovely neighbor that can't see a great big motorhome behind them. And I went out to start it up, and it's the same thing. Would not start. So I had to cancel that appointment because I had to figure out this situation that I'm having, why it's not starting. So I kept trying for a couple days, so finally I just pulled the spark plugs, or a spark plug, and I didn't have any spark. And speaking of spark plugs, I'll get this out of the way right now. If you intend on buying one of these old Winnebagos with a 318-3, you have to really remember that -3. And or a 440-3, you have to remember the -3. Okay? So back to spark plugs. If you intend to buy one of these with a 318-3 or 440-3, because those were the most common engines they came with. I do believe the earlier ones came with a 413, which I don't know anything about. Okay, you cannot just go to the auto parts store and tell them, yeah, I have this 70s whatever year Winnebago. That's not going to work. It's not in their system. You have to actually tell them it's a Dodge. You have to go by the chassis frame, which in this case, this one is RM300. And because it's a 19-foot. And there's, off the top of my head, I don't remember, but there's RM maybe 400 or something. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I just know what mine is. And they'll try to look that up, like in AutoZone, or that's where I usually go. And that won't show up in their computer either. An RM300. So you'll have to go like with a W300 or something like that. And you tell them the engine size you have and all that whole list, air conditioning, yes or no, and that none of that really matters. But what they will give you more than likely is the spark plug for the regular typical 318 or 440 engine. That's the spark plug you'll get. And at the time, I didn't know about this until I had to do some research. And a lot of people that buy one of these for the first time, an older one, because they want a project maybe, or something real affordable, they won't know the spark plug. It is a different spark plug. A regular 318, 340 or 360 spark plug, they will not work in a 318-3 engine. They have different heads, because if you paid attention to the first video, and I'll just repeat myself, it is an industrial truck engine. That's what that -3 means. It's got stronger stuff in this engine. So what you want to do when you get to the auto parts store, and I'm going to help you out quite a bit so you don't have to do this. This is a Champion spark plug number. Let me zoom in on here. For a 318, it is a champion number F10. They're going to want to give you like an RN 18 or RJ or whatever that number is. Alright. So, and on the 440, if you happen to get one with 440, because they are common, but they did not come, you could not get a 440 in a 19-foot Brave. That is, okay, action. BL9Y is for the 440 spark plug. Those are champion spark plugs, so they can cross-reference that. And more than likely it'll probably be an AC spark plug you'll end up with, but I got NGK. I never put them in, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Okay, back to the story. Got in the driveway, went start, pulled the spark plug, and I had no spark. So I'm thinking, well, okay, it must be the coil. Here is the part numbers for everything I have told you. Now this is from AutoZone, so here is the coil part number. So I get a new coil for it, ignition coil. Thinking that was the problem. Put it on. I get nothing. Still no spark. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, must be distributor cap. Here's the distributor cap part number. I go get a distributor cap. I put it on. Now I have a new coil and new distributor cap. Crank, 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 crank. No spark. Okay, scratching my head here. So now, oh my God, maybe it's the wiring. So I got myself, hopefully you can see this, a wiring diagram of the whole system of this, and I'm following the wires. See if I can get a close up. Well, I cannot, so whatever. But it's the whole wiring diagram for it, all for lights, everything for this. And I went up under the dash and took the dash apart and followed all the wires, because I'm thinking it must be maybe a loose connection or something, because remember, sometimes this would start up, it would fire up. So I'm thinking that's the problem, and I didn't see any problems with that, so I put it all together, organized all the wires. So then I go back to the auto parts store. And let me zoom in here. I get myself one of those, the rotor. Here's the rotor part number. Okay. That's not all I got, because I'm going to figure this out one way or the other. I'll just lay that out. So I got one of those. I got one of those. Ballast resistor. Here's the ballast resistor part number. I get one of these reluctors. Here is the reluctor part number. I get one of these. The pickup coil part number. And I get one of those. The control module. And here's the control module part number. So I'm going to figure out what the problem is, why I'm not going to get spark. One way or the other, I'm going to find out. So I put this in. Maybe it's that. So I put that in. I try it. Still no spark. Okay. I put this in. Try it. I still get no spark. Now I take this off, put this on, put this back on, and I try it. I still get no spark. Now I put a new pickup coil on. I try it. I still get no spark. So, well, I'll put this on. And I already have the one spark plug out, so I can check for spark. I put this on, I hook it up, I hit the key, and it fired right up. It started. It scared the hell out of me, because I wasn't expecting it to start. I was just looking for spark, and it started up. That was my problem. So I hope that helps. I did the work for you, so you don't have to go in to AutoZone and say, I have this, I have this. you can just write all those part numbers down and say, I need this. To save you, if you have this problem, maybe you want to start with this first. So, yes, this engine has all new ignition in it, minus plug wires and a new spark plug that I didn't need to put in, but now I have a whole set that I can put in at any given time I need. And that will conclude in part number 2, installation number 2 of the Winnebago Brave. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you like. If you have one of these old Winnebagos, I'd love to hear from you. It would be awesome. You don't see these out and about very often. I've probably, since I've had this, I've probably seen maybe 3. So, thank you for watching, everybody. Good day.